Hello everyone, I'm correspondent Matt Finn coming at you from absolutely painfully freezing Minneapolis, Minnesota. I know the locals here are used to this stuff. I worked in Chicago for 5 years, lived there, so somewhat, and we had a polar vortex there at one point. But we are downtown in Minneapolis. We have been doing the super early shift, so Fox and Friends, so starting at 5 a.m. local. So the first couple news reports that we do are the city's tame, the streets are pretty tame because the protesters haven't gathered yet. They usually, start gathering around 9, 10, 11 o'clock. And then really things usually get spicy in the evening hours and the overnight hours, which is typical. I've covered a lot of protests. Covered George Floyd here from start to finish, the Derek Chauvin trial start to finish. I covered the protests in Chicago, in Portland, in Los Angeles. Actually, I covered an anti-Trump mini riot outside of a Trump rally here. So point is, the protests and the demonstrations, they usually turn pretty sour at night. So right now, at least in the streets of Minneapolis, pretty calm. Outside of the federal building, things will start cooking up there soon. And then happening all around us right now are immigration enforcements, targeted arrests, roving patrols. There's thousands of immigration agents here all across the Twin Cities, so they are doing their work right now. I'm going to hop inside of our car just to get a little warm, and our producer Jen Johnson's in here, so if you hear her working away. So here's something interesting that happened. The anti-ICE activists have been taking our license plate. They've been taking pictures. It's happened to us at least 2 or 3 times, but probably more than we even know. And they tell us that they're, actually, we went over to the shooting scene, where Renee Good was shot and killed. And there's a memorial there, and there's a lot of people showing up there. And almost as soon as we got there, someone came out from one of the houses and started taking pictures of us, asking who we are. And, we just politely declined to give them any information. They clearly were not happy to see us there. And John, I think they said they were going to add us to the database.
They said that we were getting added to the database.
Yeah. So they point blank told us, we're adding you to a database. Also, yesterday we were at a church, the church in St. Paul, that was stormed by protesters. There was this guy who came up to us, clearly taking pictures of all angles of our cars. At this point, it's just, what are you going to do? Anyway, so this morning we found out that one of the rental cars we have is indeed on an anti-ICE database. I'm looking at the picture right now. I also posted it on my X.
Can you show it to them? I don't know if you could see. There's a privacy screen, but yeah, you can see it pretty well.
So we blocked out the state that the car is in and the license plate itself. So and we're deemed ICE, which is fine. It's there's a lot going on.
Show them. It's right there. Confirmed ICE.
I don't know if you can see. It says confirmed ICE.
Confirmed
It's
ICE.
also on my X. So, you know what? We're kind of used to a lot of this stuff, but Jen raises a good point. Whoever gets this car after us, if it could be a family with children, they could be followed by these activists. So that's pretty scary. If you're not used to it, it's very scary.
They do follow you too.
Yeah. We've been trailed aggressively. We went over to a targeted enforcement. I think it was actually in St. Paul a couple of days ago, and we were met with all type of agitators and protesters, and then some people followed us all the way onto the highway. So it's happening. Of course, we're not the victims here. This is not woe is us, but it's just a little behind the scenes on what's happening to everyday people who aren't in uniform, who aren't, apparent agitators. We're just dressed, casually, and yet we're still getting it. But of course, people think we're either media or ICE.
In an unchecked database, essentially.
Yeah. And there's many, many other cars and pictures. Our picture's not in there, but there's pictures of people's cars, of their license plates that are in these databases. We're not going to provide you the link. We're not going to draw attention to it. It's there. So that's unfortunate. Some questions. Yes, please ask us questions. The question is, what is the database they told they add you to? So, the database that we have been made aware of this morning, it shows a bunch of different cars and license plates, and it'll say their status. They think we're ICE, so they deemed us ICE. Other people, it says questionable, like what their status is, who they are. The interesting thing is, we oftentimes, we rent unmarked SUVs all over the country, And we try to keep a low profile sometimes, you know, so that, you know, people don't accost us and stuff. And so one of the jokes that we've had is people probably think we're law enforcement, or probably think we're some type of officials or something organized. So that's working against us here. And then the other thing too, so that guy who came out to us that day outside of the shooting scene, you know, he was asking for credentials. He was asking who we are. And at that point, we just didn't feel, you know, obliged to inform him who we are. We don't necessarily have to. We're not going to lie to you. But at that point, we're just trying to do our work, keep our head down. And he didn't like that, you know, we didn't present him credentials and identification, which we're not required to. And so they told us they were adding us to a database. So this database is meant to identify people who the anti-ICE activists think are ICE. Here's another question. What is the sentiment after the church service protest? Do people feel safe to practice religion? You know, that's a very good question. We went to the church yesterday. It was closed. It was locked. It was quiet. It's absolutely freezing. So not a lot of people out. The one woman that we did talk to on the property said she was happy that we were there, happy that we were broadcasting this nationally. She said she was in a building across the street with a bunch of children, and that was, you know, scary for her. And you do see some pretty young children in the live streams.
I'm in the database right now, by the way.
Yeah.
There are over 3,500 vehicles
wow.
in this database. They're either confirmed ICE, highly suspected ICE.
Yeah.
I think some, like 1 or 2 vehicles, like here's one, cleared, not ICE.
Oh, cleared, not ICE. So some people are getting removed from the list.
It looks, yeah.
So, you know, producer Jen is saying hundreds or thousands of cars that these agitators have posted onto the website. Yeah, you know, we were trailed. So it is scary. You know, if you're someone out there who is mislabeled and you're getting trailed, it could be scary.
We haven't heard any reports of that other than the media, though.
Yeah. As far as the church goes, you know, the one woman was saying she was happy we were there. And we tried to talk to other people, but there was no one there on the site yesterday. But to your point, it will be interesting to see how that church responds next Sunday, how those people in the church feel, whether there's any added precautions. If you guys have other questions, feel free to drop them. What can you share about your recent ride-alongs with ICE? So I did one ride-along with DHS, Border Patrol. There is a difference. And wow. So right off the bat, I did a roving patrol with Border Patrol in downtown Minneapolis, so not far from where I am right now. And so, you know, this is roving patrols where agents get out of the car. It's called a casual encounter. They approach people. They ask for identification. They ask for information to establish whether or not you are a legal resident. And, you know, almost immediately after Border Patrol agents get out of their car and approach someone, people start blowing these whistles. You've probably seen our video. There's these high-pitched, ear-piercing whistles that so many people have around the Twin Cities. So as soon as someone spots them, the whistles start real quick. Then people start beeping their horns. So they're trying to alert anybody in earshot that, hey, there's activity going on. There's Border Patrol, there's immigration. So that was really quick. Then, you know, that day, this was last Friday, maybe even 2 Fridays ago now. That day, I saw someone block in Border Patrol with their car. Again, even after the incident with Renee Good, I saw a person park their car right in the middle of an intersection to block agents. Agents identified it. They start screaming at us, we're blocked in. They rush the person, and this is all on video. It's in my report, so you can look it up. They rush the person, tell the person to immediately move. Fortunately, this person did comply. But, you know, all things considered, what happened with Renee Good and her car and DHS saying that, you know, she allegedly blocked these agents in, you would think that maybe people wouldn't be willing to risk their lives again and use their cars to block agents in, but I saw it in person. That day I had people trailing us. Speaking of, you know, people trailing us throughout the entire day, sometimes for miles and miles and miles. All this video is on my Instagram as well, so you could look all this up. Matt Finn, Finn. So agents are trailing, or people are trailing us in real time. So I asked Border Patrol, what are you going to do? Border Patrol sometimes just deals with it. They let the people trail them. And then if they have to get out of the car for something, at that point, they go back and they talk to the people and say, stop trailing us, stop impeding. But, you know, you have I believe the governor here did a special address, a statewide address last week, Governor Wallace, and said, keep going. He said, keep filming people, keep videoing them. You have a right to do this. And actually, keep doing it because we want to collect a database of evidence to build a case against ICE and DHS. So as far as the trailing goes, that doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. People using their cars to block agents, man, we saw it. If you have any other questions, let us know. Are people tired of the protesters everywhere? So what's interesting is we are downtown right now, and after we finish a lot of our early morning shifts, then we kind of rove sometimes. There is a designated protest site at the federal building that ICE is using as a headquarters here. There's a federal building out of town. And so that's where a lot of the protesters are showing up every day. Most of the times they're peaceful. They're agitating, they're bothering, they're screaming, blah, blah, blah. That's where they take pictures for sure. But in general, a lot of it's pretty, organized and tame. But then something pops off. Then protesters will turn to rioters or agitators. They'll start rushing. They'll launch fireworks. They'll chuck objects. They'll surround a car and pound on it. So a lot of that activity is going on at this designated place, which is outside of town. Then what happens is there, all the immigration enforcements are still happening all over the Twin Cities. Like I said, when immigration agents are seen, then people in the area immediately seize on them. They'll blow the whistles. And so sometimes these little pop-ups happen all over town. And there's a highly organized anti-ICE network here across the Twin Cities, across the state probably. There's all types of organizations going on. So to answer your question, are people sick of it? A lot of people are living their lives day to day here and probably don't even get a taste of it, because it's either out at the designated site or these little pop-ups.
Or
now,
hotels.
Yeah, yes, or hotels, but we haven't seen that in a bit, at least not in the city. But yeah, I'm sure people are sick of it, right? But I'm sure there's a lot of people who support it. Well, I mean, the governor's telling protesters to keep going. The governor and the mayor has said protest peacefully, but they have not really told activists to slow down. When are the ICE operations set to end? They're not. There's no timeline. DHS, the Trump administration, sent in an additional several hundred, if not 1,000 troops. This is described as the largest immigration enforcement effort yet under the Trump administration. About 3,000 agents here. They're not slowing down. They'll tell you that on camera, on record. They've been saying it, that none of this is going to impede them. When I was with Border Patrol, I asked the guy I was with, again, this is on my Instagram, on my Twitter. I said, hey, we got people trailing us right now. You got the mayor who told you guys to get the F out. What does that do to you? And he goes, it does not impact our decision at all, whether or not to keep proceeding. We're going to carry out the mission. They'll tell you that. They'll use that word. So there's no timeline. And, I covered the immigration enforcements in Los Angeles and the riots there. Same thing. They're still ongoing. And that's the other thing, too, is you may not see the protests. You may not see these clashes, but that doesn't mean that ICE and DHS, they're not carrying out their daily enforcements. Sometimes they go down without a hitch. In fact, when I was doing the ride along with Border Patrol, one time the guys got out of the car. They asked the guy for information. He gave it right back to them. And then they had kind of a little chat. So a lot of the bad stuff is really highlighted, but DHS is always trying to highlight as well all of the bad people that they're arresting on the daily. You'll see DHS posting that. We share it sometimes. All of the criminal illegal aliens, sometimes wanted or convicted of just heinous things, they are still being taken in pretty much on the daily. Democrats here, they allege that DHS and immigration agents are violating civil rights, that they're targeting people for their skin color or the language they speak. You'll hear Democrats saying that a lot. The Democrats and the mayor here say that this is an invasion, that there's so many federal agents that are overwhelming the local police department. That's one of their arguments. But back in Los Angeles, Democrats filed a bunch of, or at least one major lawsuit claiming that the tactics that Homeland Security and ICE agents were doing on the streets was illegal. I believe that case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled that these tactics can continue. So the Trump administration got a big win there. But it's alarming. I mean, you see agents get out of a car, they're in tactical gear, they approach you, that we see video of them taking people down, slamming people to the ground. Of course, it's alarming. It's unsettling. So you can understand why certain people who've never been exposed to this are just looking out their front window and see all this, why they're nervous, why they're uneasy. I believe the St. Paul mayor told people to call 911 on federal issues, that if you're scared, call 911. So that just goes to show the back and forth between the state and federal agencies. I'll step back out quick. Not that you could feel it, but I'll just show you. It's very, very cold. Ice and snow and everything all over. But my name is Matt Finn, Fox News. Thank you guys for watching this. If you have any other questions, please feel free to drop us a line, send me an email, matt.finn@fox, and have a great day. Stay safe. Thank you for watching.